Hello and good evening, good morning or good afternoon. Hello to wherever you may be. Thank you once again for joining me at Disabled World's View, but Able in God's Eyes. Again, I have my special guest, Miss Maryruth, who you've had the pleasure of meeting the last time we were together. And today we will be talking about what autism is not. And so I pray that what you will hear and that it will be a blessing to your ears. And as our guest, Maryruth, will be speaking, if you have any questions, please make a comment below. And after the presentation, I will again share with you her contact information, her website. And if you have any questions, further questions, you can contact her directly. And so once again, thank you, Maryruth, for joining me today.
Thank you, Angie. It's good to be back. What autism is not. When you first mentioned that, I thought, what it is not? What do you mean? And then I thought of a perfect example when I was told my youngest son was on the autistic spectrum disorder. I thought, well, how can that be? He doesn't sit around banging his head against the wall. Because that's what I thought autism was, sitting and banging the head against the wall. I thought that autism meant stupid, retarded, unable to learn. That's not so. It is a spectrum. So you have, over here, you have very high functioning, Asperger's high functioning, where they pretty much do everything a neurotypical person would do, but may have a little quirky sense of personality or some quirky habits. And then you have on the far, far side where, what is the term? And I dislike this term, but I've heard them called idiots. And there are some that might be idiot savants or something like that, where they will excel in one thing, such as piano playing or math or something like that, that they can't do anything else but that one thing. On this far side, you might have people who don't communicate verbally, who might be hard to potty train, who might bang their heads on the wall or hit themselves or self-injure in some way. But there's such a broad spectrum of symptoms, of characteristics, I should say, that it is impossible to describe one person by saying, well, they have autism, because there's a broad range of characteristics. And you don't know where along that range a specific person will fall. Now, autism, normally a person who has autism usually has communication challenges. that can range from nonverbal to maybe repetitive words, but they can still communicate, but there might be a strange sound or tone to their voice, and you're like, okay. Those on the spectrum tend to be more literal. They may have problems connecting emotionally with people. For my son, he would not allow me to give a hug. When he got a little bit older, I could say, "Can I get a hug?" And he would hug me. He could not stand people touching him. People would come up on the shoulder like this, touch him on the shoulder. Woo-wee, he would flip out. So those are some common things about autism. A lot of people will say that autism is genetic. It does tend to run in some families, but the genetic aspect, what's really interesting that I found from my own personal research is, for one thing, they have trouble detoxing toxins from their body, especially heavy metals. So those on the spectrum have their bodies need help, extra help in order to detox. And there's a gene SNP that leads to this inability to detox in a normal way. Now, this SNP does tend to appear in families. There is a family connection. There is a higher rate of autism in certain ethnic groups also. And this is all linked with the ability to detox, especially heavy metals. But detoxing can be aided by certain nutritional supplementation. So it's not like a death sentence, like, oh, this person is just never going to be able to get rid of the toxins. That's not true. That's not true. It just takes special steps to help that person to detox and get rid of, especially the heavy metals. The thing about the heavy metals, what happens is God created us with a blood-brain barrier. And this barrier was to keep harmful things out of our brain. But what happens is that we are exposed to things like fluoride that causes a leaky brain. And that leaky brain allows heavy metals through that barrier so that it affects the brain. And you end up with things like autism, Alzheimer's. It doesn't, last time in the last interview, I said something about diagnostic labels are not to box our children in. That's the same with autism. The thing is that when I hear somebody's got a diagnosis of autism, I immediately think leaky gut and inability to detox heavy metals. And there are certain nutritional deficiencies that have been found in the general population of those who have autism, such as glutathione, which we will talk about in more detail later. So that label gave me this information. And then I think, okay, so I can suggest this and this and this to help that child in order to reduce or even reverse symptomology. It has been done. It is possible. It is not easy. It is not fast. It takes time and consistency. And it's a lot of work, but the efforts are well worth it. Just know that rather than being stupid, retarded, or an idiot, which I cannot stand those terms, those on the spectrum tend to be very, very creative, very intelligent. They just have trouble communicating their intelligence. They have trouble connecting emotionally with people. And that is, I think that's a huge challenge for those on the spectrum because they might not understand all the subtleties in our language and our conversations. And so they'll say a remark really off the wall and everybody looks at them like, you're stupid, or you just don't get it. And then they avoid being around them because like, they don't know, they don't understand what you're saying. What I would do with my son is there's a series of books called Cultural Literacy, and I do not remember the name of the author. There's a general book for like adults, and then I believe from kindergarten through sixth grade, there's one for each level. So what I did is I would go through those books with my son, and there's a section in each of them that have idioms. So idioms feel our language. I mean, like, for example, raining cats and dogs. Now, when I first gave this to my son, he's like, cats and dogs are coming down? And I'm like, no, that's not what it means. And I would explain.
Mhm.
So going through this and explaining and educating, they're able to learn. Now, my son, my youngest, who is on the spectrum, you know, I was told that he was actually on the edge of being retarded when he was tested. But in reality, he's one of the most intelligent people I know. Truly. And I know a lot of smart people, but his brain is amazing. And the connections that he sees. See, a lot of that's something else. Those on the spectrum, they tend to see connections between things that the normal person will not get. And so they're popping up some statement here, and then they'll go with another statement that's so off the topic, and you're going like, where did that come from? And then they'll go through it, because this is what my son did. I'd go, okay, we were talking about this. Where did this come from? And he says, well, I thought of this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, wow, amazing. Anyway, see, I got diverted. But don't assume they're less intelligent, because they're not. They tend to be right-brained. So if you want to learn how to educate, how to connect with a person who is right-brained, you can learn that. but those on the spectrum tend to be right-brained. Our school system, our education system is built for the left brain learner. And that is why so many of our kids on the spectrum have trouble in our regular public schools because they are not left brain learners. They are right brain learners. When I learned that and started teaching in a way for the right brain student, everything changed. Back to you, Angie.
For those who are watching, maybe with us on the second time with this interview, with this second interview with Maryruth, we plan to have more topics, subtopics under the umbrella of autism spectrum disorder. So if you haven't seen the first video, please watch. There may be some information there that you can relate to and that you can gain that you might have not discovered on your own. And so this is a reason why I am so glad to have Maryruth with me this time to interview, because there have been so many subtopics on this topic of autism spectrum that I have always wanted to share on this channel. But I like to do it on an interview level. And so please expect more topics to come on the spectrum for those families that will be watching this. We'll be discussing more. And once again, I don't want to miss this opportunity to share with you and to allow her to share with you her contact information. And once again, I will share the information in the description below so that you can contact her as well.
Okay, to contact me, my website is kindlingdreams.com. That's KINDLINGDREAMS.com. And you can reach me through email at healing, HEALING, at kindlingdreams.com.
And once again, I want to thank Maryruth for joining me again. And we'll be having more videos to come, more interviews on different topics, such as detoxing, resources to share with you that you may be able to find in your state. So we're going to be gathering up all the resources that we know that are universal. And I did get a chance to share one that is Project Lifesaver, which is a universal resource throughout the police department here in Florida. And so they do have a website called www.projectlifesaver.com. And that's one of the resources that I can share with you now. But there'll be more to come in future videos to come. So thank you again to my viewers, returning viewers, and first-time viewers. God bless you, and I pray that what you have heard once again has been a blessing to you. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.